I've traveled around the country, I've seen the dusty plains, but I'd rather be back home again, avoiding all the rains. Sat around the table with the culture running deep, with a harvest in the jaws and promises to keep. Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bung or two, me mate Wild Roo and the rest of the crew, with Timmy, Tink and Mark too. We've got a strong culture and some good stuff to share, with the microbial plan and the science in the air. Got the masters of the craft and the crew's all there, in me old smoking chair. Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bung or two, me mate Wild Roo and the rest of the crew, with Timmy, Tink and Mark too.
G'day legends and welcome back to the Terpene Table. As always, I'm your host, Wild Roo, and we're joined, as always, by the crew. We have Timmy, Tink and Mud, and massive g'day to everyone in the chat. Thanks all for joining us. Now, let's get into the episode. We got week 2. Week 2 through to week 4. So this is about when our plants start showing some personality. They stop being so fragile. We can stop stressing a little bit. Roots are starting to expand down. You got those first nodes starting to lock in. Timmy, what's going on over there? What's happening in the root zone?
The engine is clocking. It's really starting to find its feet on I guess how it wants to be progressing into its flowering stage. It's setting the stage for that. And we see a lot of different enzymic kind of changes within the plant cells and structures and how they utilize energy in this stage. But what I guess the main take for everyone and myself is good observation and targeted feeding. This is the powerhouse of this stage.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I reckon excuse me, sorry. What we're doing now is, leading into all those things that are going to carry through into flower.
Exactly. And I guess like what is common observations? What is common problems, I guess, from the audience that we can, kind of work through and talk about tonight? Like, I definitely have gone nutrient overdose in this section myself and kind of forgotten about root structures before in the past and definitely had some lockout issues. Well, what's some common stuff that you guys kind of experienced? And is there anyone in the chat that is having some issues right now?
Yeah, willing to share. What do we got? Color concerns, leaf angles, growth rates, all those things. We got Rusty with pH and heat. So Rusty, I presume he's referring to sort of what pH zone and temperature we should be looking at inside our tent during this zone. What's your input there, Mud?
Well, as for the root zone itself, I honestly couldn't tell you. But you definitely wouldn't want to be cooking it. When we're talking about this stage, the roots aren't going awfully far, and depending on what you're growing in, a bit of mulch outdoors really will help keep it in check. And again, depending how you're going, I wouldn't say it's relevant in the way of you need to find perfection, but what you need to find is where you can keep it. But indoors, if you simply would just have to keep your environment in check, and I'm sure your soil would follow suit. At this stage, plants, they're just starting to run out of that little nutrient care package that their parents gave them. as they exhaust that, that's when they'll start really hunting and looking for under that soil, where they'll start looking for the nutrients and everything like that, in the living soils, with how I grow. And they'll even look for water, and you want to get those roots out there to get more of those nutrients and even more of that water intake. So, keeping it perfect, and also keeping it watered and not overwatered, and even sometimes a little bit underwatered around the plant itself. Do you know what I mean? And you do that, and it should maintain a pretty stable environment. But outdoors, just do what you can, have a bit of mulch.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, generally about this stage, I find your root zone's generally in sort of proximity with your
Height.
and your canopy's width.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
What is above is below.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the tips of those leaves are about as where your root zone is reaching to.
Yeah. Hmm.
So targeted
which is
feeding's always
one of
good.
which is one of the reasons you will want to stop watering. You don't want to water a seed at this stage, or sorry, a seedling at this stage, or an early veg plant directly on top of the plant, which is why you want to sort of water around it and have it spreading.
Yeah, that's it. Encouraging that root zone to spread out and
Hmm. I find this time is really, for me, like a really great time to exhale. I've pondered so hard with the birthing of the of the seed and getting it, into the mix, and hopefully I've done the right mix, and hopefully I haven't overwatered it. And at this stage, it's like really showing itself in its own standing, and it's showing if it's comfortable with the soil and everything, and it's all been about the soil and the watering, and now I'm able to look a little bit further, to the warmth, to the height of my light if I'm indoors. I actually like this stage. To me, it's like I can back off a little bit, even when we talked about the circle of water. I'm backing off, I'm trying to spread it out and like get it to settle further and take up more of its environment. Yeah, I like this stage. Yeah,
that's right. I agree, mate.
yeah,
Yeah, it's that time you get to
yeah,
take a breath and dial in
yeah,
those other things. Yeah, and
yeah,
start to look forward to what's going to happen. Yeah.
exactly, and start noticing its uniqueness. Have those first nodes, like, are they dying off? Because some do, and it has no relevance to its health or anything. And some are like spurting right up and nearly leaning over. And I find this is when I start getting a little bit more individualized according to the actual plant that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, that's when those
Yeah,
phenotypical expressions start to show.
yeah, yeah.
We're going to start talking probably nutrients there. So what are we doing for nutrients there, Timmy, at this stage?
Look, I guess it depends on the pheno. Like I myself, with some of the things that I've worked with in the past, I'm like, throw the kitchen sink at it right now. We've spent those weeks and the weeks before, preparing the microbial and the soil structure and exactly how we want to proceed through this. We've got a good idea of how we've done that, and I feel like, as we've worked through these podcasts, we would have an awesome structure of microbial life in that soil. So we're cranking right now in my mind, and I'm like, let's feed. Let's get some nitrogen in there. Let's get some CalMag in there. Let's get some trace elements. Let's start hammering it up there. Increase the PPFD because we want all of those base biological kind of functions operating on full stem as we move into flowering, because we want all of those energies. We want to make bud size everywhere. We want to crank this. And I think now, we start going heavy feeding. I mean, some phenos don't like that, but I myself would start hammering things in.
Yeah, myself being a cocoa grower, I'm about the same. This is when I start to see how far I can push things and start to look. I have to pull back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Look,
What
and
about you there, Mud? In your living soil.
Well, at this stage, so at around the 2 week mark is from about now to about week 3 is this is the time, because I have to top dress. Okay, so this is the time when I really have to hammer things in and get things going in my setup to either have a long veg or get prepared for flower, depending which way I'd like to go about it. So however that is how I dictate I go about it. However, one thing I always like to do early now, and so I was having issues with the strength and sort of structure of my plants. And I was looking for ways to do it without directly sort of putting silica on it or something like that. And so I use pelagonite, pelagonite and a little bit of like some onyx prills or something like that on top. And and then you use you know any sort of microbial or tea or something like that and get it started. But yeah, I like to prepare at this point. That's when you get all those top dresses on. I'd probably wait maybe until a bit later in the week too, but you don't want it around the base directly. You want to leave a bit of space there.
Alright.
Yeah, definitely.
And also
Definitely.
foliar sprays. It's just very light, very, very light. It's sort of maybe like a kelp or even an aloe or something. Some people would use maybe a bit late for a sprouted seed tea, but some people might use that a little later if that's something they're into.
Yeah, definitely. I
And
always
try
start with my
yeah.
foliar sprays about now. Like helps to introduce humidity as well.
Mm. Yeah, I'm struggling a bit with that.
You having a humidity problem there, Tink?
I am. I
Too
am. It's
much
probably
or
lack
not?
of plants. No, it's lack of plants. And anyway, it's a big story because I've had a couple of bug issues. I've actually drained everything out, so there's literally no water in the system, and I'm hand watering. Um, so yeah, I am struggling with the humidity. Um, yeah, I was just thinking today about how certain things take their toll and they kind of put a stop to how you're doing it, and then you've got to get back on the horse. And yeah, a lot of work involved with indoor stuff, and
Especially
especially
getting
when
back
you
in.
hit a few challenges. Yeah. Mm. Anyway, sorry to digress.
No, you're fine. Starting
Hmm.
fresh is always good, though.
Sorry.
Starting fresh is always good. It is
Oh,
something
it's
very
such a
refreshing.
treat. It's such a treat when everything's like clean and everything. But I did that last time too, and I thought everything was. But when you've got a system, systems can hold these little aphids anywhere. So
Oh yeah,
at the minute, I'm down to trying to bust through the cyclic process of an aphid, so that I'm
break
prepared
down
to
the
keep
sort
it.
of life cycle.
Yeah. Because I couldn't do it again. It was twice, and it's not okay. Yeah, it's not okay.
We'll see
So
if we can help
Mm.
you.
yeah, it's all good. You think you're thorough, but these things are microscopic. So probably I may need to look at introducing some bugs.
Definitely
Um,
beneficial. You'll be surprised.
I would
Go
love a
living.
whole
Go
whole
completely
life
living.
system inside, but, live soil, live everything, like a little tropical wonderland. I would love to do that. I'm just not sure if I'm up to the physical load of it all, tracking it
Not
inside and
wrong. Oh man, no,
tracking it
no.
outside.
It's yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you have inspections. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then you have
it's a
to
lot of
move it
work.
12 hours. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I moved more soil than I did furniture, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, but well
Well,
worth it, dude.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a
great,
it's a
great
massive.
suggestion is Blade of Oz said in the chat there, Tink, lace wings.
Right, I actually had 2, so you can buy them. You can buy those ones as well,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I
And
think I need to. I really seriously think I need to buy some live.
Yes, bug.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
a
yeah,
fantastic play.
yeah, and then when I look at myself and I think, "Oh, why didn't I do it?" I invest in other things and I'll spend money on other things, and then I think I could have just saved my life, you know? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and that's why I went with it straight away. And I was on a
yeah,
good regime early of, sprays, which I'm sure you do anyway.
yeah.
Without getting
Yeah,
too
yeah,
into
look, I knocked it as
bug
far as
larvae.
I could do. I had a win, but yeah, I need the help. Remember I was saying I took a couple out because I need nature's help now. Well,
Mhm.
they saved the rest of that plant and it grew a bit more. But yeah, we learn. It doesn't matter how old we get or how wise we are or how many times we've done it. We have to respect how amazing and triumphant nature can be, whether we like it or
Wow.
not.
These bugs are
Yeah.
still here for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, they're crackers. Yeah. So, yeah.
I love the
Mm.
beneficials for using something like the spotted ladybird. There's just nothing
Oh,
kind of more
absolutely.
satisfying than seeing like a flower, especially in flower. You get some aphids and chuck some
That's a nice
ladybirds in
one.
there, and you got this like big crown with this ladybugs sitting on it. Just
Yeah, yeah.
I
They're
don't know
just
what's
beautiful.
so
Yeah.
I have no idea what's controlling mine, but they get controlled. As I said, I bring it in with them, and nothing stays in there alive. But there's something in the soil that sorts it out
the
for me.
sheer heat in the soil. It's like
Yeah,
delicious.
I've
Give
put
me
so
your
much
offspring.
at this point. I've even had like things that I didn't introduce that are native to Australia in there. So I'm like, all right, little mites. So that was fantastic. Little predator mites that
That's
just showed
good.
up one day. Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. I
Anyway,
haven't
bit
had
of a
the
digression
issues
there.
outside, outdoors at all. I have such a respect for how my ecosystem works outside. So, but that is where my passion is. I love working full on with nature. I'm not much of being acting as a god. You've got to drag nature inside, and I don't have a problem living and bringing it indoors either. So, yeah, yeah. Good advice, everyone.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we had a question in the chat there about EC at this stage. So, what sort of people's EC they're feeding?
Can't help you there.
It depends, I guess, whether you're looking at cocoa or soil. So, hydroponics in cocoa, you're probably somewhere around 0.8, 1.2 at about at this stage, and soil, you're going to be about 0.6 to 1. That would be about my recommendation on EC anyway at this stage.
Yeah, I'm definitely around the kind of 1.3 kind of mark, and it's funny. Mentioned the silica source before because it was actually something that I did a little bit of research in the other night. I couldn't sleep, and I'm like, silica, like it was like haunting me, like the raven at the window, and I was kind of looking into things, and I found bamboo shoots and bamboo leaves into like a ferment.
Just heard
It
about
has a
this recently.
ton
Beautiful.
of bioactivatable silica, and I mean there's usually bamboo around the place, or they're easy plants to grow, and it's such a simple source, and then you add that, to like kind of a lab kind of mix, and you have a much broader kind of spectrum. So, thinking some type like an approach like that would be super clean and super efficient, and kind of not go overboard with the EC, potassium being a silicate. If we could have that just more bioavailable from a tea, just we run less risk of kind of overloading the soil.
So
Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely.
I
Yeah.
like how you say that because I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
know, and I may be incorrect here, but when you mention bamboo, and with the lab, bamboo's root system, its microbial life, if I'm not mistaken, and please anyone correct me if I'm wrong, is predominantly lab. There was a study done into it, and that the lactobacillus is incredibly high within bamboo, which is what makes it so vigorous. So I wonder if there's something we could get something going on between a lab culture and and bamboo ferment. That's interesting. Thanks for touching on that.
Funnily enough, that is exactly what I kind of came to the conclusion of too. And I'm like,
Nice.
yo, this is a 2-for-1 source. And I was like, hey, let's start growing some of
Yeah,
this.
we need to look into this.
Yeah, everyone's going to start having bamboo fences and bamboo screens growing everywhere soon.
Might
No,
be
no,
my idea.
not bamboo PGR. Just answering a thing from the chat. Rusty,
Yes,
bamboo
in the
PGR.
chat there.
Just a silica. So we're strengthening the cell structure. Where we're getting that brick score up. We're increasing amino acids and antioxidants in the soil sphere. And the
Well,
plant's
I guess you'd
responding
call
to
it a
that.
natural PGR, wouldn't you? Like, kelp's a natural PGR.
Well, it's I would more say, compare it to like a protein supplement. So like you can have a steak, but
Yeah, yeah,
a
true.
protein supplement's a more just direct way of having protein, and that's how we would deliver, that to the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like Blade said, kelp contains PGRs in small quantities. Yeah.
Especially, well, the specific, yeah, there's northern ones that are very good with it because they're slow growing. They contain specific things in them. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But we
But
are
yes,
very frightened of that word, and I understand why. I remember when I was younger, it's like, oh, I don't want any of that. That's PGR shit. So yeah, I completely understand why that word's a bit,
oh yeah, it's definitely a very taboo word, isn't it?
which is why we need to change that, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a tainted word because it goes along with the synthesized and the bad stuff that they do. So, but there are natural growth regulators. But yeah, we've got to find other names for them. I think.
Yeah, or just
Jeez.
another name for the shitweed.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good too. Yeah. Yeah, there were lots of other names.
Yeah, well, there's lots of other things we could call it. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I'd like to answer that one for you, Dragon Force. If I haven't used it personally. However, I have
So,
watched.
sorry, hang on. Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Rice hulls are what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yep.
Yeah. Go
So
far away, mate.
Yep. So there was a question in the chat from Dragon Force about using rice hulls for silica distribution. Now I've heard of people doing this, and I've heard of them doing it for a twofold reason. One being the silica, and one also being the aeration. Now, I personally haven't used it because I found sourcing it to be actually more expensive than sourcing things that I can use that are mineral, or can't use the word organic because it doesn't technically fit it. Mineral based, but not synthetic based, like pummices and whatnot. And the thing with rice hulls is, to my understanding, it's a bioaccumulator, a very big one. So if you want it to be high in silica to the point where it's useful for you to pay for and put in there apart from something else, well, you're going to have to pump that soil with silica. You're going to have to pump it with the things you want. It's going to have a natural level, but you're going to have to care for it in a way to get it to produce those results. And in which point, unless you're trying to perpetuate some sort of self-sustainability, you are probably far better off using something else. And that's sort of my opinion. And it also will accumulate negative things, heavy metals, chemicals, pesticides, things like that. So that's my take on that.
Interesting.
Yeah, well said, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well said.
I
So
did
what other things
see
are we looking
a-
at? Sorry, I'll
Hmm.
go, Tink. Sorry.
No, just about rice, because you were talking about rice. I did see a really cool YouTube about using cooked rice, but that was like pre putting it in the ground underneath your root system just for the microbial activity that it actually creates was phenomenal. I thought that was interesting. I just think it's so interesting that there are so many things that we have at our disposal that we don't have to spend thousands of dollars on that
Well,
can
rice is a
create
great cheap tool of
absolutely,
sourcing nutrient.
that can create the environments that we're
That's a
trying to
byproduct.
achieve.
You don't have to
Yeah,
mine it out of the earth. So there is positives, absolutely. I would, yeah,
yeah,
and I would probably use it myself
yeah,
if I had found a source that was sort of permitting in that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Feed the soil, not the plant. Amen, Rusty. That's well said. Yeah,
That's to create lab. As you mentioned, Blade of Oz, the Korean Japanese method, just wash
Yeah.
rice.
What other thing? No. Well, look,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I make a simple tea by now, like a banana tea, from just stuff in the kitchen because it's wanting such a light feed. I'm just trying. I'm also in a semi-mixed soil medium, so I've got a bit of living soil, I've got a bit of cocoa, I've got a bit of
You've got a bit of
everything.
buffer there, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit of everything type thing. So I'm just trying to keep adding to that to keep it fed. Yeah, and keep that working at this stage.
You're looking at your humic acids, fulvics.
Yeah,
Something good to
yeah,
introduce there. Helps nutrient uptake.
yeah,
A bit of kelp extract, a little bit of fish hydrolysate, a little bit of.
yep,
You
yeah,
could even
definitely.
use you want something to feed the microbes. You could use a bit of molasses. I like to use a top dry amendment. I use those onyx prills, which is it's a pelleted form of molasses, very, very rich in nitrogen, so perfect.
Interesting.
It's 11, 0, and 1. So
You
it's
use
Yeah,
this
you can
very.
now.
buy a powdered black strap as well.
Oh, I've got the black strap, like a home organic made one, but that gets me. So educate me, mate. I always thought that it was something you're more introducing to the flower stage.
Well, it feeds
The
them. So you're feeding when you
the
use
soil.
the blackstrap molasses, you're looking for probably the sulfur, the potassium, things like that later on. But when
Yeah.
we're using it in this sort of instance, and we could put in a compost tea or something of that matter, we're actually feeding the microbes because that's what gets them wanting to go. You want to keep them nice
Right.
and well
That's right.
fed and working. So
Enzymatic
that's the
processes
beauty of
getting them
that's the beauty of all
kicking and
this.
going.
Exactly. So once we start doing that, the enzymes, we can start helping the plant kick those enzymes in. We get, all of that process going, with this humates start to form around natural humates occurring in the soil will start to form around your root zones, and yeah, that's when you start
Yeah.
to tell those microbes and feed them, and they love you
Nice.
for it. They thank you for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, they love the sugars. They do. You know, in my simple mind, they really do. Yeah. Yeah.
They do. But when we're talking molasses too, everyone, goes a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Molasses
Yeah.
is
It's
very
also
strong.
really good for human consumption too, folks. So it's as good for your own system as it is for the plants. Just on a side
Yes.
note.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Mm.
I'll also add a bit of, just on a side note, I'll also add a little bit of insect frass to that mix, and I put the molasses into it, the pelletized molasses, to encourage that insect frass's sort of microbial superpower to take off and get that pelagonite into it, which will also assist with holding onto the nutrients all in one big go.
Interesting.
That's very good way to do it, actually.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, I think that sort of covers us for the nutrients at that stage.
Yep.
I'd hope so.
Uh,
It's pretty
yeah, I
easy.
think we'd be yeah, I reckon too. We'll be
The
looking
frass is
to frass is a great one.
Yes. Yep.
Environment. Let's talk environment. What are we looking at? PPFD, Timmy?
flogging it like a dead horse.
100%.
Look, you know, in my opinion, this is when we kind of start looking at the energy production, and we know that potassium and phosphorus are a key element in things like ATP production, and this is like our plants are signaling they want to go. They're 17 years old. They want to go to the prom. They want to have a good night, and they want to go out with a bang. And it's time to give them that. So look, 900. Honestly, like moving in, especially if you've got a good structure, we've been training, we've got a nice even canopy, we're lowering the nitrate production down, and we're moving towards a phosphorus kind of potassium, just a slow elevation up with our enzyme. Then we're really going to see a great kind of burst into early flower, and even potentially reduction in stretching just by having these energy kind of pathways just optimized.
Definitely. And let's just be real here for a second too. You know, not everyone runs this shorter veg period and moves to flower this quickly. So you know, this does translate, and you can push it out a little bit further if you do want to.
Absolutely, like it's observing the plant as well, which is what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Is how does the plant look? What's its structure? What's my space look like? Like, is there any deficiencies? How's my soil? Like checking the EC and pH of the runoff. Like there's a lot of things that could signal maybe you need to skip and wait a week. Maybe you need to just let your frass tea and top dress kind of just ooze into the soil and improve it a little bit. The
Yep.
observations are key to everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of variables too, you know.
Mm.
Like the soil thing, you know, if it's your first soil run, you probably will have to take it easy to start with, or if it's pre-prepared, you know, things like that. I can
Yeah.
only speak for soil though.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
is very true though. I suppose with soil, takes a while to get it to where it needs to be.
Yeah,
Especially if
well,
it's freshly mixed up.
well, with mine, I can. I'm not playing catch up with anything I do. The reason I'm putting the things on when I'm putting them on is because those are decisions I've made based off their last couple of runs in these pots or with this particular soil. So I'm not playing
Yep.
catch up from now on. I'm playing here you go, girls.
You're mapping.
Yeah,
You're mapping.
exactly.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Whereas my first runs were not like that. They were all over the place.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Good to know that you can sort of get into the same sort of rhythm you could with with a cocoa hydro
Yeah,
setup. You can do the same
exactly.
thing with your living soils.
Exactly right. And it almost feels like the same sort of process. By the end of it, instead of adding it to water, you're adding it to the soil. Just as a powder. Or like.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking sort of 800, 900 ppfd. Air exchanges flat out.
And a good temperature to back that up, because the ambient temperature needs to be kind of high to get that transpiration and all that the photosynthesis kind of all flowing together. So I reckon a good 28 degrees and kind of
Yeah.
65, 70% humidity is really a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about spot on to me, mate.
Mm. And our humidity up around 70 if possible.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was I think Timmy said that about 65,
Yeah.
70.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
We're making
definitely.
gains. Like, you know, our room's looking good. I've just been sitting here imagining it in my mind. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
All the boys and girls, I don't know, in the audience that are listening, just we're all huddled together around a tent in my mind right now, just to
Yeah.
paint just a picture.
Size tent is it?
Definitely.
I'm sorry. I can't help
What
myself.
size tent is it? Has it got white walls or like mylar walls, or what are we talking here?
Yeah,
Oh, white walls all the way, diffuse light over, you know,
Nice.
cute.
Yeah, there's some big debate about that too, isn't there?
yeah.
But
What's your take on that, Timmy? White?
Timmy
Also-
loves his white walls.
Yeah,
I'm
diffusing light is definitely because, you know, look, not everyone has a perfect canopy movement or perfect light kind of fixture, and you know, for the people that do and they know exactly everything about their environment, maybe a diamond mylar is for them. But you know, if people don't have that intricate understanding, which I mean, I also don't, because I just prefer to just rely on the diffusing white mylar or white plastic. You know,
Yep.
just stick with a white.
Your panda film or your white mylars.
Okay, that's interesting. So you're saying that
Gives you a buffer.
there's actually a difference. So if you're skillful, it's actually beneficial to go the other way. I didn't know that. I've never heard someone mention that. That's good to know.
set us all up, have they?
Without getting into it too much and digressing too much on us, could you explain to me how come that happens? Why if you're more skillful you can make that work better?
Just an understanding of acute photons and how that would negatively impact, I guess, a certain plant having that optimal room temperature, airflow, and canopy kind of agitation. You know,
Okay, so
would it be something that it wouldn't particularly matter in, or you could take advantage of that? You know,
I get
I,
you.
I wouldn't personally know how, because I just truly don't even bother. I just go with the white. I'm like, yo, give me that
Yeah,
home vista.
what I can. That's for sure, bro. It's a lovely clean color too, and it's easy to photograph with. So yeah.
Exactly, aesthetic as heck, and that's what we're out here for. To flex.
Growing up, that's all I knew was white walls until the grow tent came into existence. It was always about white walls. Everyone was always painting the white walls white to get it right for the grow room. Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I didn't know about that.
Well,
That's
it's
really
in your mind it's the white
yeah,
is reflection. Yeah.
absolutely. It made so much sense. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm
why did
hoping
we
my
end
next
up
one
with the
is
silver?
going to be a white one, like a blood pearl or something. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Going to work on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, my flower rooms are generally like panda film.
I might have to do that. I
And
might have to
then
paint it for my tent.
my other tents, my veg tents and my seedling tents are just cheap mylar tents, because at that stage it's not important.
Mm.
Yes.
So,
Very.
you know, let's just say we're doing a 4-week veg, and we're in that week 3 to 4 kind of range, lollipopping and training. Well, what are we all doing here?
I'm looking at the structure of what I'm working with, to be honest, because they can all be
I'm not
so different.
lollipopping yet.
No,
I'm
still.
I'm starting my training, definitely. Like I'm training
How do you
hard,
train,
but I'm
Roo?
not
At this
lollipopping yet.
point,
At this point, I'm slightly stress training. A
low
bit more
stress.
than low stress. No, a little
Okay.
bit more than low stress at this point. So I'm coming in selectively, selectively pinching stems.
Right.
Okay.
Biggest, strongest,
At a super crop
biggest,
sort of
strongest stems.
capacity, or
Yeah, or sort of. I'm gently trying to sort of mimic what a big wind or a big rainfall would naturally do.
or even a big animal stomping on it, something like that, eh?
Yeah, something like that. Animals running through the bush and pushing it, you know.
Who just runs
Yeah.
into the tent, just grabs it, starts thrashing it around, runs
Well,
off.
that's. I mean, you
Yeah,
obviously don't have
I
a
just
set of
bounce in
info
there
near a
as a roux,
massive.
don't I? You know, come on.
Oh,
I don't know if you can hear him snoring in the background here. It's quite annoying. No, he's great.
I just bounce in there and
Chew a
yeah,
top
So
off.
the
Have
shock.
chew
So
a top off,
yeah,
have a
right.
munch.
There you go. Top plant. Roo comes in, chews it off. Happens in nature, mate. That's one of the reasons plants know how to grow so well when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's it. I'm just trying to mimic sort of, what would happen in nature roughly, So I come in and I give those tops a bit of a bending down and rough everything up a little bit.
90 degrees
Go
or not
through and
quite 90?
Not quite. I give the stems a little bit of a pinch and a pop so that, that they're going to knuckle up there, and it sends a bit more attention to those ones that are a bit taller. So it gives them time knuckling up, and the other ones can catch up a little bit and starts to even out my canopy. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing about this stage.
Yeah, let's say depending on the genetics, if they're vigorous, at this point I'm probably thinking about a top. I'm removing, I can never say it correctly, the cotyloina leaves, the first set of leaves, the original one that pop out of the seed. I remove. They'll drop off if you leave them, but I do it anyway. I'm removing.
Loidens.
Yes, yeah. I'm removing the first set of fan leaves, and maybe even the bottom branches if I don't like how they're looking and it's a vigorous enough plant. But I'm a bit of a late topper and a late trainer, and I'm trying to change that. And that goes back into the reason I'm trying to stack silica early right now. It's because I want a structure, but I want a specific structure I'm looking for. I want that scrog structure, but I can't scrog because that locks things in places. And in my situation where I have to get inspections and things like that and hide massive pots of soil, I can't have things locked in like that.
So you're looking at boosting cell walls and cell
Yeah,
strength.
and really trying to just get a scrog without a scrog at this point, which is why I'm so focused on that silica content of my plants and getting them that and calcium and getting them as strong as I can and getting them sort of not necessarily topped yet, but definitely figuring out where I'm going to top and where these other branches are going. And some plants just get
You'd really been going through it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, definitely really wanted it to get used to growing sideways and reinforcing itself. But unfortunately, this causes a bit of a longer veg. You do, when you don't want to use the scrog to train and you want to just use the plant itself, you do have to veg hard.
Yeah,
The
which is
beauty of what
generally
you
why I'm only doing it. Okay, go. Sorry, Timmy.
No, don't be sorry. I was going to say, which enhances the beauty of the plant as well, because you really get to see what it is capable of when you have that really good health and base structure. Your little cup, like shallow, like wine glass type of structure. It's beautiful.
Well, funny you mention that. I've always had a vision. You know how people shape these vines and things like that, like into seats and sit in them? One day I want to grow an outdoor, a big, long flowering sativa or something,
Yeah.
and just make it into a seat and just chill. I really want to try that one day when I have the property.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And just keep putting it back into veg so you get those real thick vines coming up.
I'll just have a light over it so I can control it.
I was going to say, just do a nice big greenhouse and have the seat at the
Oh,
end
that'd
of
be
the
incredible
greenhouse,
with the
like your
pond next to it.
throne.
Oh, that plays into what I want to do so
cool.
bad one day.
Yeah.
Nice big light over the top of it. Yeah.
But
Nice.
getting back on the subject, but Timmy, sorry.
We love a digress.
I also like to really, as you mentioned, it's really good to see the plant here. Early stress is great. If you have a weak plant, you early stress it. As soon as you flip the flower, you can see some issues, even when you stress them in veg. So even that early. So I'm big on that early stress because I want strong plants for what I do. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely.
I'm just trying to balance my stress. That's why I don't quite lollipop at this stage. But I'm sure Blazin would have his input here.
Look, I think someone really kind of, obviously this is a terrible term, but for plants and this stage, treat them mean, keep them keen. I think is a good way to talk about cannabis plants in this life stage, because I love lollipopping, like just the very base. I'm like, there is no point in you being here, my friend. It is time to go, because it's not getting any photons, it's not getting any energy, and it will add to the stress of the plant, but it will then help me, coincide with my topping and other training that I've been doing up top to really push those, cytokines and things out and establish, I guess, a good base to avoid as much stretch as we can by splitting those in enzymes up inside the plant.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
the
good to see
early,
everyone's got their different approaches, eh?
yeah, it's beautiful, and we all get, we all love our results, isn't it? Isn't it good? And that just goes to show how, and that's
Yeah,
why we have
exactly.
so much genetics around the world, because it doesn't work. Everything doesn't work for everybody. It's great. If we didn't have this variety, we wouldn't have the variety of genetics. Cause and effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Yes. Looking good now then. I think we're getting pretty much everything in check. We've got our environments in check, our mediums in check.
Training and nutrients and how we're getting ready for this next section, and whether or not we're pushing out a couple of weeks to get a better base and structure going.
Did any of you guys see any issues? Anything we've missed here? Anything you guys
Yeah.
do now that we don't, that we would like to start? Because I'd love to hear, I love always getting my hands in there. There's never enough to do in there, honestly, for me. There's never enough to do in there. Do any of you
Looks like we
guys
got
spray early? Any sort of neems early? This early, is neem too strong? Maybe something else, a peppermint. Do you guys use anything like that to keep the pests away?
as a bit of an IPM.
Correct. Or is that a bit too early for you?
It's too early for me to do it.
Yeah, I don't tend to use names and things like that unless I need to.
Mm. Yeah, mine's a bit more of a proactive, but I'll do it further down the track, like halfway through when there's a lot of bush. And generally, it's only a reactive indoors if I have to, but outdoors, I'll do it when they're nice and bushy. Yeah. Depends. I suppose if there was, reactive. If there's a whole heap around, then I'd definitely do it. But by then, outdoors, I've got a garden where they're all feasting, so they're leaving my garden alone. Everything's kind of set into place by now, so don't need to.
Mm. Yeah, we just had someone talking about carcinogens in neem oil.
Yeah. Yes, we got a member of the community here. This is something that fascinates me because I am somebody that uses neem, and I will admit that. So this is talk I'm starting to hear that neem is bad. Obviously, I don't use it in flour. So I would definitely like to learn more about neem and the use of neem as an IPM. And if it is definitely bad, it will be gone.
And especially when you can just use some dish soap and some common veggie oil and pop that with some essential oils into your spray, your pressured spray pack, you get the same result as what you're trying to achieve with the neems and all of this.
Mm.
You really do. You really do, Mud. A bit of garlic. They hate garlic juice, all of those kind of.
I've been thinking I need to consult you for some recipes, honestly, Tink, because I'm wasting so much money on these IPMs that I know I don't need to be. I generally don't.
Yeah.
These are essential oils that they're putting in a bottle for me, and I'm paying them to post it to me with a 50% markup. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can I've become real anti. I won't even buy fly spray anymore, and I fucking hate flies. I will literally, but I'll fly swat them. I'm not against killing them. If they're in my space. Anyway, I digress. But we can do so much, especially with essential oils and stuff like that. But yeah, there's so much basic stuff. Even for I will do a preventative only because of where I live and how cold and moist it gets. And I'll do an Epsom salts wash if I need to, just because it stops, it's preventative for mold and stuff like that. There is so many different things that are really good, eh? But I don't feel that knowledgeable. So I appreciate you saying that, and I'm happy to share whatever I do know. But what I do works. So, maybe I do know a few
Well,
things.
I think you know
Yeah.
on this subject. I think you know exactly what these people know. So I'm using a
Yeah.
cast-off soap. Is that how it's pronounced? So some just sort of natural plant soap. It's a soap nut extract,
Yep.
and then just sort of a neem seed oil with a neem or neem seed oil with, I believe it's mixed with a peppermint or something. It may not be.
Yeah,
No, I use
peppermint essential oil is really, bugs hate it.
yeah, I use that
Um,
stuff in a different product as well. But it's an arm and a leg. It's ridiculous. So I need to get some recipes off you.
but you can buy
Sorry, digress.
peppermint oil quite cheap. Yeah. Um, Same, and a little goes a long way. You can kill a plant with peppermint oil as well. So, all of these things you do need a bit of wisdom about it because you can kill plants, but you can kill a plant with banana juice too. They just say soak your bananas, but by the time you've soaked it for 3 days, you need to dilute it because it is too, it does create quite a
Bad
bit.
water. You know, you can
Yeah,
anything, you know,
just water,
poisonous in dosage,
absolutely.
isn't it?
But you go and pour that over your plant, and it'll be sad and, like, brown and very bad the next day. Yeah. Another great thing is a lot of our leaves, our tomato leaves and stuff like that, we soak them. That's a brilliant pesticide. So I think that, like it's being said tonight, Resty said it a few times, we really do need to look at nature, because I think it does have a lot of answers for us, rather than the synthesized versions that we get in bottles. Not that I'm against a bottle that fixes the solution, but yeah, what are we putting into the earth, I think, really, at
Yep.
the end of the day, and what are we putting into our cannabis, because we don't want it. We really don't want it. Our systems don't want it, and I know we're not trying to achieve that. We're just trying to keep them healthy.
Yeah. Well, like
Yeah,
someone said in the chat there, sticky traps, and
yeah,
and I didn't mention it because they're always in my tents.
yeah, yeah,
So I apologise to the audience for not mentioning those, but yeah, that's definitely a great IPM, and it's great early. Helps keep everything under control early, and then you can monitor your your pest population, and then if things
yeah.
start to get out of hand, then you can look at sprays and things like that. But
Mm.
yeah,
So I'll elaborate a bit there. I run sticky traps in kind of. I run bands of sticky tape around all of my
Yeah,
pods.
they're
So
the best.
basically, any pest coming in, any pest coming out, it's very cheap. I've only ever bought one roll of it. It's nearly over.
Yeah,
The problem with it is the stickiness it uses is terrible. It gets on everything. You can't get
yeah,
rid of it for months when it gets on stuff. But it's good for monitoring. I can monitor the top. Is it crawling from inside? I can monitor the bottom. Is it crawling from outside? The only issue
yeah,
is I obviously do have holes in the bottom of the pot, all the sub-irrigated planters. But the reason I sprayed so heavily was purely due to the fact of I had heavy pest pressure outside everywhere from neighbors' gardens and everything like that. And I had beneficials. They would do their job. But I would like to spray maybe twice in veg to knock everything down onto the substrate and let my beneficials do their thing or come up. So obviously you don't want to introduce beneficials and spray at the same time. I had my beneficials well and truly established in my soil and in my setups before I started, before I spray. So make sure you balance that.
See, I go for a dusting and a coating of Damascus earth, if that's where I'm at
Soil
at
just
that
eats
point.
it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do a whole lot for me.
It
I
doesn't
also
do a
want that
whole lot
activity
for
on
you?
top. Well, no, because my soil
Oh,
it'll just consume it. So if I do that and I water and I do these real like
oh,
humic and
yeah, what's that?
rich,
Yeah, yeah.
mixes, and then with my top dressings, it just gets consumed. And when you water, it just floats to the top. It's in my
Yeah,
mixes.
no, I'm only talking a 2-day program. So if I've got an infestation of some
Well,
sort,
yeah, I
it's
can't.
like a
It's soil.
snuff out process rather than plastic bagging them. I can Domaceous earth them, which snuffs it all out, and then I'll go from there I'll have to wash it all off. So then I'll go for the oil and dish soap type solution with garlic, and I'll literally do a lot of hand washing. Yeah, but it's all for the love of trying to save a plant.
yeah, definitely.
Mm,
Yeah, cool.
hopefully, yeah.
Love it, love it. So, what our core messages, I reckon, are just probably nail your observation, get your environment in check early,
Yeah.
and sort of use less of everything. You don't need to use a lot of
Across
water. You
nature,
don't need. Yeah.
even for
Yep.
IPM.
Correct. Well said.
And the plant is talking to you at every stage. It wants to show you how it wants to be looked after. So we're looking at color,
Yeah.
stretch, leaf
Yeah.
angle, simple mechanisms that can show you what you need to do and what to watch out for. And this community and others like it are great places to discuss those. And just like we've seen in the chat tonight, great places to have a chat about all the different things that we do.
And we get excited for your grows, so please come and share it with us. Like we really, really do. That's part of it. Part of growing and being able to share with other people. You really learn so much in a nice way. It's really good. Yeah.
I'm very new to this, so I love being educated. If people that really, anybody that knows,
Yeah.
please come educate me. I want to know everything. Like as I said, we have people in the chat. As been said, we have people in the chat here that have mentioned, the papers they know on things that I've been using that could mean that they're potentially bad, and I can correct that. This is exactly what I mean. I want the best flour for everybody. So come and
Yeah.
educate us, guys.
Yeah, I second that, Mud. I love it. I'm forever learning from everyone around us. It's really amazing. Dragon has just put up about the saponins.
Saponins, yep.
Yeah, which is that soap. That's interesting. I like
Soap
that.
nut extract is
Yeah,
where I get mine from for that. I need to start making it. So it says
Mm.
yucca there. I'm assuming aloe could be used as a bit of a surfactant and a saponin, or
Yeah.
is it only yucca? So I'd imagine they're somewhat similar. Could you answer that for me, please, Dragon Force? I'd assume yucca's probably better. The oats is interesting. That's one I find very interesting. I need to look at that.
Yes,
That's easy
that's
to
a good one.
produce.
Yeah.
And legumes, I could never say that
Aloe
one.
works for cloning. Yeah, it does
Yeah,
work for cloning.
yeah, definitely. It's got a lot of
Mm.
yeah,
And a good feed. Yeah, they love a good feed of aloe.
good
Good
foliar
for
spray for
rooting
aloe.
hormone. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No, I'm just looking at alternatives for things I have because it's a lot different for me now, postage and things, and I'd rather not buy off people anyway. I would like to have a little permaculture set up, even if it's just to support my
Well,
growing.
it's just nice to get self-sufficient though too, mate, eh?
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Willows,
Yeah,
yuccas,
interesting.
aloe. Okay.
What about
Yeah.
gum trees? Like, what about is that any use? Although you
Aspen.
probably have to compete with, the oils. Although is there some sort of well, not insecticide, but would that have any sort of the oil have effect on insects?
Look, I was always taught
Okay.
when I was doing my stuff in TAFE about gum tree leaves is that they weren't good to use biologically. They had a
No, they
potential to
take a
kind
long
of
time
skew
before
things.
they're lethal.
Oh yeah, well that makes sense because they like to keep things like they kind of preserve themselves, don't they, in a way? Yeah.
Even the resin, it can be so toxic, is
Well,
my
that's sort of what I
understanding.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
very
They're a life force in
I've got
themselves.
a lovely one next
Yeah.
door to where am now, where I live now, and it's one of I can't remember what it's called, but it's beautiful. I love
Is it
those.
huggable? Is it smooth? Is it huggable?
I haven't gotten that close because I don't think they
Oh,
want me hugging their tree yet. But after a couple of mushrooms
don't
and a
worry
couple of
about
things,
anyone
I'll
else. Get in
get
there. Get in there and give it a good hug, man.
back to you.
Exchange some energy with a majestic tree.
I think I terrify because I don't look like other people. I think I terrify the poor old lady. She's I feel
Oh,
so.
you don't terrify the tree. That's all that matters. Oh, I love that.
I might. We don't know yet. It might get up and run from me.
It
Yeah.
won't. It'll go, hmm.
Nah,
Yeah.
get over there and hug that tree, mate.
I'll
Yeah,
jump
get
the
over
bubble
there and hug
accents and
that
try not to have
tree.
it all pulled on me. It's all right, guys.
There's nothing better.
What's
That's
that
a
like
bit
coming out of the
rougher.
crack, guys? Nothing, guys. Mind your own
Yeah.
business. I'm just giving the goddamn tree a hug. Come on,
Exactly.
man, hug a tree at 3 in the morning in
Yeah,
peace in
hug
his
a
neighbour's
tree.
yard with some mushrooms.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Anyway.
Nah, you're all right, mate. All right, well, I think that leads us through weeks 2 to 4 pretty well properly. Doesn't have to cost us a fortune. You can do
Yeah.
it for sort of 10 to 50 bucks.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you guys post up some of your, week 3 or week 4 photos. Tag the Terpene Table in them if you're on Instagram, or just post them up in here in the Discord. And with that, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Terpene Table. We'll see you again next week. This episode of the Terpene Table is brought to you by Growers Pal. Aussie legends when it comes to keeping your clones safe in transit. If you've ever tried to post a cutting wrapped in wet paper towel and cling wrap, you'll know it's a gamble at best. Growers Pal clone shippers take the guesswork out of it. Purpose built with segmented compartments to keep your genetics snug, and even a little LED light to keep them happy on the road. Whether they're headed up the coast or across the country, you can trust your prize cuts will land fresh, not fried. They're mates of the Roo and they're mates of the Discord, so they're growers looking out for you, not just trying to sell you something. Head over to growerspal.com.au. That's www.growerspal.com.au and sort yourself out with a proper kit for moving your genetics across the country, because good clones deserve a fair dinkum safe ride.
At Blazing Trail, we're on a joyful adventure celebrating life, love, and nature's beauty. We cultivate vibrant outdoor connections, foster community collaborations, and source wholesome treasures like our Sprout seed starter for precise, energy-efficient germination, and FlexiGerm silicon seed pods for sustainable, airflow-enhanced sprouting. All with the care for our world. Join us in blazing a sustainable trail filled with laughter and magic. Visit blazingtrail.com.au.
While we're on the subject of good gear, I'm going to give a cheeky shout out to my own spot, the Wild Vault. It's packed with glass, gadgets, and grow gear, all the little treasures that make your sesh just that bit sweeter. So, if you're looking for something fresh to add to your kit, swing by thewildvault.xyz and have a sticky beak. It's basically a toy box for grown-up stoners. And hey, if it's genetics you're chasing, head over to our mates at wildrootcultivars.com and check out what they've got cooking. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time at the Terpene Table.